see if I can get this other thing to work right. I don't know.
Pulling up clean in a GL whip. Kenny Red Flash with a turbo kick. Lil Laredo, yeah, the name's on fire. Burning up the road, taking dreams higher. 0 to 100, no time to stall. Every frame, every post, yeah, he does it all. From the streets to the screen, he's got that glow. Welcome to the ride, it's Lil Laredo.
Everybody and their brother.
Red line dreams, we don't slow down.
I don't know what happens. I'm really out with it. So anybody.
When we hit your town, missing stars so sharp like a midnight show. All gas, no brakes, little no.
Still on. You gotta be fucking kidding me. How many hours is this?
No brakes, little no.
4 fucking hours? That's ridiculous.
Every move custom, every vibe is on. Not just a car, it's a way of life. Precision, passion, cutting like a knife. Headlights blaze through the doubt and fear. He's the one they watch, the one they cheer. So buckle up tight, let the legend grow. You're in the fast lane with Lil Laredo.
That's fucking crazy. Alright, let's go back up here. Okay, I guess we're going to start on this. We'll go up. Nope, let's put this on. There we go. We're on. Alright. Now, get myself together here. Myself back up here. And let me get my thing over to share my screen with my other thing. Yes, I believe we are going to be live. Here, let me get my word up. Come on. Let's get our word up. Here we go. Yep. Let's go. I can't believe this fuckers are still sitting on there. It's unfucking believable. It really is. No. Okay, just cut it out. Okay, fine. Okay. Don't send. Okay, we're good. Don't. Just leave it alone. Just stop. Done. Dying downs. Here we go. All right. Let's go back over here and share our screen. All right, let's share our screen if I think I can get it right today. Let's see. Oh, we're going to share our screen with, here we go. It's fucking ungoddamn believable. It really is. I'm so shocked when I see that shit. Window. Oh, here we go. It's there. Okay. Now, wait, where is StreamYard? Make this smaller. StreamYard, there it is. Okay. Now, let me see if I can do this and share the screen. And that should take care of that. Go to do this. I'm going to stop sharing that screen. Whoops. I want to get back to this. Now I'm going to unsplit it and just try to do this one. Okay, now there's my other screen. But I want to be able to read it, so I'm going to find a way to make that work out. Because it's down here on Word. That's where it is. Okay. We'll just leave it like that. It's fine. I think I have it right here. Let me see if I can pull this back up. Oh, my goodness, my goodness. Let me find my Word. My Word. Yeah. Okay. Oops, it might not be on this. It might be on the way over there. It's okay. It's all right. We'll just make it work anyway. Let's see. No, I'm going to read it off of this one. Okay. Let's stop sharing the screen and pull it this other way. All right. Let me do it this way. I'm going to split it and do it this other way. I don't fucking understand you people. I just don't. It makes no goddamn... I don't understand it. What in the hell? I need to go over here and do it from this one. Oh, let's go back here on Word. Put it all the way over here. Whoops. Put it right there. And go with their Diane Downs. We can fix this way. There we go. Whoops. Come on now. There we go. Okay, let's fix this that way. Come on. Now, you're right there. Oops. There it is. Okay, now bring this over here. Yes, and there we go. Right there. All right, let me make this bigger. Why is it trying to do that? Here, this big. And then we'll make this one big. Where's mine? Okay, I think that'll work. That will work to make that work. Here we go. Now, all right. I'm going to go back over here and we're going to start with, okay, now let me make this bigger. I think I can do it from the bottom. Oops. Whoops. All right, here we go. Get smaller. There we go. Oops, there we go. Okay, that will get right where I need it to be. So we'll start back over with, get comfortable. Make my other file that we have right here. Yep. Oops, come back over here. Put this over here. I'm going to open this other one. Okay. Put this one over here. Now, come on, stop it. There. It's right there. Oh, come on, make it smaller. Okay, now I'm going to pull up this other one. It is my comparison. I'm trying to get to it. Open. Oh, this is it right here. Okay, now look, this is one of the things I promised I was going to do, which was going to do a comparison of Diane Downs and Lori Vallow, which you're going to find very, very shocking because honestly, both of them have the same problem. And I did not know that until I ran my comparison. I'm totally shocked. Let me see if I can pull this back up over here. I have it on Word over here. I'm going to share my screen when I get the other part of this pulled back up. I was totally, I hope you can hear. I was totally shocked with the whole situation. Let me go back over here in my Copilot. There we go. Copilot. There we go. I'm pulling back up. Okay, and we were comparing. That's what we were doing. Lori Vallow to Diane Downs. Unbelievable. There we go. They both are horrible monsters, both of them. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to start off with both of them became infamous for their crimes involving their own children, but their motives, methods, and psychological profiles are a little bit different. Little bit, not a bunch, all right? So I'm going to start with, oh, go away. Here we go. Pull this back down. Okay, let me share the screen so I think I can show it this way. If I can make this bigger, that would be great. I might not be able to make it bigger. We might just have to read it, and that's okay too. So we're going to go and start with the background, right? So here's the deal. Elizabeth Diane Downs, she was born in Fredericksburg. She was born August the 7th, 1955 in Phoenix, Arizona. She married that guy named Steve Downs in 1973. They had 3 children, okay? We know that she took her children's lives. She ended up in jail and all of that. Now, where it gets weird is when we start talking about how she compares to Lori Vallow, all right? Now, let me find this. Here we go. Diane, now she's filed several appeals. She's done all kinds of things. She's had, 4 different appeals. She's had 4 different trips in front of the parole board, which is quite shocking. 4 different trips. So So the prosecution argued that she shot her children to be free of them because of the affair. But Christy, her surviving daughter, testified after months of therapy that she saw her mother do it. All right. So we're going to get down to these legal proceedings now. Downs has filed multiple legal petitions and habeas corpuses challenging prosecutorial decisions, alleged suppression of evidence, and claims an ineffective assistance of counsel. Courts have generally upheld her conviction, citing strong ballistic evidence and trial testimony as compelling evidence against her. She continues to pursue legal avenues, including possible DNA testing. Now, I don't know what the DNA testing could possibly be because we already know that only herself and her 3 children were out there on this road when this happened. It's very high profile. Now, here we go. Here's the thing. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Let me see. Hang on a second. There's all these little. Let me see if it'll pull up. It might not. Come on. Okay. Read that there. Let's see if it'll go. I'm going to see if it'll go to this other file for us. It might not. I see it doesn't want to. So here, I've got that copied. And I'm going to go back over here and we'll play the second page here. Paste. Yeah, let's see if it'll go. Okay, enter. Come on. Let's see if it's, oh, not that one. No, it's not right. Well, not that one. It's not going to work. We have to do the other one. Now, damn it, I have it right. Oh, here we go. Get my WordPerfect back out. And we're going to share the screen over here and get this done. Share my screen to my damn WordPerfect. Window, Word, share. Okay, now there it is. So I'm going to bring this down here so I can talk. Okay, let me split the screen again so I can use one side to do one thing and one side to do the other, which kind of works out better that way. So let me split the screen. And there's that. And here is this. Bring this back up. All right, now. Oh, yeah, that'll work better. Now, I have another, let me get this other page over here, which is from something I got the other day that I was like, oh, look at this. Diane and Lori. Diane and Lori. Okay. Is it back over here? No, it's this one right here. Let me go to the other page just a moment. I don't know why it's all in black. It makes it hard to see home. Okay, you're okay. Here we go. The table of contents. Let's come back over here. Come on. You need to work with me today. Don't be working against me. That's not good. All right. Now. No, I'm not changing it. Okay, there's that one. Okay, get off of that one. It's right here. Okay, now I'm just going to get this to open up again. Now, let's see. What is my whole big thing? I have this whole comparison that I did the other day that I saved on Word. I'm trying to get it to come back up for us open. Certainly not going to, is it? Well, let me go get my other files. I have some PDF files that I have on here too, so let me get those pulled up. Here we go. Get these. Okay, let me go on PDF files pulled back up. I'm going to make that smaller. Oh, here we go. Hang on. Here we go. Come on. I don't know what happened to it. Now I want to pull that back up. I need to be able to find my little file over here. Okay, let's do it this way, Lori, and I'm going to do it with Diane Downs. Hang on. I know you can hear me, but you might not be able to see me. And Lori Vallow. I was so shocked when I saw all this. I was like, wow, these are some crazy son of a bitches. Oh, come on. I know I saved it over here in my cloud. Okay, one moment. I think it's right up here. Come on. On my home page. Here we go. And it was in my downloads. All right, here we go. It's a PDF right down here. Okay. Diane Downs. I also have appeals for her, so quite interesting, all the documents that you can actually go get, Okay. There's an appeal right here. Okay. I'll try to share this part. Where did my appeal go? Right here. Okay, there we go. Let me get this appeal to come over here. Let me stop sharing this one. We'll get the other one. Okay, no, don't be sharing. Stop. Let me get my. Oh, come on. What are you doing? Remove. Let's go get your other file. Okay. No, I'm not. Come on. I just want to share my screen. Just a minute, jackass. Here we go. No, that's not the right one. I swear, every time I try to do this and split it up like this, it works. It's just a little weird. Okay, stop sharing. Let's see. I'm going to go share my screen now and get my file over here. Here it is. Her appeal. Share. All right. There we go. So now there's her appeal. And we're going to go through it for a minute. If I can get it to come back over here. It's right here. Okay. Now, that's over there. I want it to come back over here, but because I want to be able to read it, but we'll just do it this way. Because I can pull it up on both sides. But anyway, just crazy, all the different things that she has tried. One moment. All right. I'll be having hail this afternoon or this evening or whatever it is. Just need to kind of get through this a little bit because I have so many other things I'm doing. Diane Downs case files. Here we go. So let's find the images. I got a lot of this from here. We'll get the case files right here. All right. This is really where I wanted to come from right here. I'm shocked. I mean, I don't even understand what in the damn hell. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Hang on a minute. Let me turn this one off over here. All right. Let's see. But I don't know why I fucking try. I really don't. Sometimes I just get so freaking irritated. It's just, I don't know why I waste my time sometimes. But anyway, here we go. All right. Now, I want to get to her appeal that is right over here. No, stop that. I don't want to see that part. Here we go. There's her case. See all the links. Okay, pull this up right here. No, not that. Whoop. Now here's something weird about this. And I don't even know why it's like this. But just 2 days after these children were shot, somebody else, which they have never been able to find any DNA or anything like that, came up and started saying that he did it. Of course, we know that's not true, but it's the, listen to this. And this is from some documents that I found. DNA courts denied any request to process DNA found at the crime scene. Okay. James Jagger, attorney for the defense, said 383 leads that might have proved Diane's innocence were withheld by the prosecution. He said he made a numerous requests for discovery, including requests for exculpatory material under Brady versus Maryland. Okay. He also said, I felt like it was a great disadvantage to have been denied access to reports, notes, and corroborating Mrs. Downs' version of events. So there's somebody that started admitting to him doing it instead of her doing it just 2 days after this happened. So I think that's very rich. So there was trace metal tests were performed on Diane the night of the shooting. They were negative. The shooter, according to the state, was well within the car and would therefore be covered with gunshot residue. Diane was not. That's a little stressful. I mean, that's a little different, isn't it? A little weird. The shooter was covered with blood splatter, and the ceiling of the car was. Diane was not. Okay. The gun, the Ruger, it's a 14-76187 that Diane was convicted with, was subsequently found in a drug raid in Paris, California. Tests were run to determine if it was the ballistics match the casings from the shooting site. They did not. So I don't know how it could be the same gun. Why do you think the prosecuting attorney would adopt the children and then have another attorney send a letter to their grandparents instructing them to not visit them? And then go to, and it gives this letter, this Hughie letter. In 1993, we found people who were willing to swear that someone had confessed that he was the one who shot the Dallas children. Their affidavits are listed below. Do you think the composite that was drawn on the night of the shooting looks like the confessed murderer? His friends thought it looked just like him. Look at him and decide for yourself. Now, this is kind of weird. This is things we don't hear about. Now, they are going to test some DNA, supposedly, but I don't know if it's going to make a difference or not. But just 2 days after Diane and her children were shot, James Clare Haynes began confessing to his friends and family that he was the one who killed Cheryl Downs and critically wounded Christy and Danny. Sworn affidavits attest that Jim Haynes' confessions on November the 10th, 1993, Jim Haynes' partner Clayton Niston told me on 3 pages of a sworn affidavit. Listen to this affidavit. 2 days after the shooting, Mr. Haynes told me that he was the one who shot the Downs woman and her kids. On February the 24th, 1998, Mr. Nyson told the federal public defenders on page 3 of a sworn affidavit that the day after, I saw Haynes again, and then he told me he was the one who had shot the Downs family. It says, it's trying to link me to a different link. The wife of James Haynes had this to say about him. During our marriage, Haynes physically assaulted me many times. Haynes has held a loaded 9mm pistol in my mouth and a .357 Magnum to my temple, threatening to shoot me. Haynes attacked me and broke my nose. On one occasion during another argument, Haynes threw my newborn baby down the stairs. Haynes attacked me so many times it is difficult to remember them all, but I can and will never forget the violence and horrible crimes he has committed, nor the confessions he has made to me of the brutal murders in the Willamette Valley area. Mr. Haynes has told me he is the stranger who shot the Downs family. And then it says to read this affidavit, go here. So, or listen to what Phyllis had to say on her recorded conversation. He has beat me to blood many times. And listen to it. Okay, so let's see if we can get this to play. Oh, it won't play. Oh, well, let's go back one. Okay, well, it's probably because, let's go back. I wonder why it won't play. Okay, maybe, I don't know. Do you still have doubts? Listen to what Dan Newby said. Dan Newby, let me see if I can get this one to play. I know it's real static. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Yes, it does. Ooh, it's fucking ridiculous. It actually is. I don't get it. What are you doing? Fucking sit in there after 4 fucking hours. What is wrong with you people? Okay, there you have it. So that is an actual recorded conversation where somebody's saying, "Yeah, this guy told me that." I mean, the composite looked just like him. Now, this is, I'm going to tell y'all something else. So you can just read the affidavit as well, but we just listen to it. You can compare the photographs to him. Let me see if I can share the screen to show you this guy, and you tell me if you think it looks like him. So let's go ahead and take this one off, remove that one, and I'm going to share the screen with, hang on a second, take that one off, and we're going to share the screen over here. So here we go. And I mean, it's actually a picture and a composite drawing. So we'll see. We'll see what you think. Okay. It's over here. It's a window right here, right there. Well, I wonder if I can share. Okay. Now, see this guy right here? Let me see if we can make, I wonder if I could, well, I can't do that because then I would have to take that away and I don't want to. Let me see for a second. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Hang on one moment, please. All right, now. Oh, no, that's not really helping, but okay. See that? See the picture right there? You can kind of see right there. Do you think that looks like him? I'm not sure about that. Just not sure about that. Anyway, so I'm going to take that back and we'll just keep getting this way. So let me remove this one. All right, take that one down. All right, now I'm going to keep reading this over here. We'll just keep going through this part because these are things that I don't think, if you paid any attention to this case, you probably did not even know this was out here because this is not something that was actually talked about very often. When people start doing these long lies about this and they're reading all this different stuff, I had never seen this come to light ever. So it says, Teresa Norgent said, I was riding with Haynes in a red Corvette. We were on our way to see Cresswell when he suddenly told me he was a stranger. He was the stranger who shot the Downs family. And then it says, go to the Teresa PDF. So let's see. Is there a PDF for her? Oh, here it is. And it says, let's see if I can share this part. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can share this part. Share the screen. And it is, I believe, I don't want it to show me though. I just want it to show, okay, we're going to do that differently. We'll just share it. It's fine. So you can see it's right there. Okay. And it's talking about, I am Teresa Nijordet, being duly sworn to dispose and say, I am a former acquaintance of James Clare Haynes. In late 1987 or early 1988, I was riding with Haynes in a red Corvette. We were on our way to Cresswell when he suddenly told me he was the stranger who shot the Downs family. I was very shocked when he told me that. I asked him why he would do such a thing. Okay. Haynes told me that Diane Downs had to pay for what she did. About 3 months after that, Haynes said the same thing again when I was with another former acquaintance, Michelle Miller. This is when he was visiting me at my house. Haynes had threatened my children because he blamed me for his brother's drug conviction. I'm not sure why he blamed me, except that I was present in the car when his brother was stopped and questioned by the police. When that happened, Haynes sent me a message through an intermediary to say that he had better not catch my children walking home alone after school or something like that. I had provided this same information before 1993, and when I first really told anyone about it, I had not said anything before that because I was scared of what Haynes might do to my children. Now, that is what she had to say on this. Okay, now, let me go back over here to what we're reading. Okay, so then the next thing that came up about this, there's many different people saying these things. So then there's somebody named Janet Rexford. When I asked him if he had shot the Downs family, he admitted it said if he was a hired hit. I told him that the picture looked just like him, and he replied, yes, but they'll never catch me. And then you can read the affidavit. So let's see. Let's get hers to come back. Hers says, I, Janet Rexford, being duly sworn and disposed, I have known James Haynes since 1987, but I've never heard about him shooting the Downs family until 1990. Teresa Nigel told me about the composite picture in Ann Rule's book, Small Sacrifices, okay? And that looked just like Jim Haynes. Teresa also told me that Jim Haynes had confessed the shooting to her. I went and looked at the composite, which looked just like Jim Haynes did. I then went to visit Mr. Haynes. When I asked him if he had shot the Downs family, he admitted it, and he said that he was a hired hit. I told him the picture looked just like him, and he replied, yeah, but they'll never catch me. This is the only time I've ever heard about it, and it bothered me enough that I wanted to do something about it in 1990, but could not find a way to bring it to anybody's attention. I don't remember the date, but James Haynes told me that he was going to kill Teresa Norgent's children. He also said that he would not be the best. Okay, he said that would be the best way to make her suffer. In early 1990s, I asked Lee Thoming of INET to investigate James Haynes and check his photographs against the composite. He told me it was a dead issue. I believe James Haynes is the man who shot Diane Downs and her children on May 19th of 1983. An innocent woman sits in prison for the crime she did not commit. Now, this was done in 1997, okay? Now, We'll go back to the rest of this. Then also, the next one that talks about this is somebody named Cecilia Neiston. Clayton Neiston's ex-wife makes the very interesting comments in her affidavit about both Jim Haynes and Clayton Neiston. Clayton and I then went to Jim Haynes' house. Haynes was sitting on the bed reading the paper about the case. Clayton asked Haynes whether he was the one who had done it. Haynes confessed that he had committed this crime. So here's her affidavit. All right, here we go. This is the affidavit of Cecilia Neiston. I, Cecilia Neiston, being duly sworn and disposed, and say, I am the former wife of Clayton Neiston. I used to know James Haynes because he was Clayton Neiston's best friends. Haynes and Neiston were both involved with dealing drugs, and Haynes was also involved in hurting people for money. In the summer of 1983, I read about the attack on the Downs family and saw a composite sketch of the attacker and the Eugene Register Guard. Clayton and I both saw the drawing and agreed it looked remarkably like Jim Haynes. Clayton and I then went to Jim Haynes' house. Haynes was sitting on the bed just reading the paper about the case. Clayton asked Haynes whether he was the one who had done it. Haynes confessed that he had committed the crime. I do not remember everything that Haynes said, but he did talk about standing behind Diane, and when he did so that the children would not see. Haynes also said that he had done it because of money. Okay, he said he'd done it because of money and that Downs owed him money. Why? I was also present when Jim Haynes and Clayton Neiston discussed disposing of a weapon used in the Downs crime. I know Clayton had disposed of a gun for people before on the property he owns in Junction City. After seeing Diane Downs' picture in the news, I realized that I had seen her before. I remember that I saw her once at Haynes' house. I suspect that she was there buying. Okay, now this is bad, and I've never heard this before at all. I suspect she was there buying speed because Haynes was a well-known drug dealer. I'm not sure exactly how long before the shooting took place that I saw Diane at his house, but I think it was not very long. I also think that I'd seen her once or twice before that. I've tried to say something about this before, and I was interviewed by the FBI when an agent came to ask me questions about Clayton Neiston when he had been arrested for drugs. The FBI people just laughed at me when I told them who had shot the Diane Downs children. I've also been scared about to talk about this because I have been threatened by my ex-husband. I remember one time Mr. Neiston killed someone with a gun right in front of me. After he shot the man, he told me that I would end up the same way if I ever said anything about it. Neiston said that it just was someone he had to get rid of because of what he knew, and that he had done it in front of me to scare me so I would not talk. I also think that Jim is dangerous, and I'm scared of him too. I remember being present when Haynes would tell Clayton about how he hired himself out to hurt people. Those discussions involved talking about breaking arms and legs. Jim and Clayton also used to talk about how the best way to hurt someone was to get them by hurting their children. I think they discussed this before the attack on the Downs family took place. Okay, I don't know if anybody else has ever heard any of this, but I've never heard any of this. All right, so then the next thing is a quote by Wesley Fredrickson. I've seen the place Cecilia Neiston spoke about. It's a pond on Clayton Neiston's property, and I was told they disposed of weapons in that pond. If they didn't want anyone to find them, I was told they covered the weapons with cosmoline and placed them in plastic bags to prevent the rust. When I interviewed Sandy Capps in 1993, her name was Sandy Stichler. She was babysitting Jim Haynes' children when I met with her. She shared a lot of very pertinent information, but was afraid to make an affidavit, so I never included it in any of my writings. When the federal public defenders interviewed Sandy Stichler in 1998, her name was Sandy Capps. She agreed to sign the affidavit and then changed her mind because she was afraid. In the affidavit the federal public defenders made of the conversation with Sandy Capps, she said, Haynes then asked me what I would think if he had shot the kids. When he said that, I got really nervous. Jim Haynes then told me he had shot Diane Downs, her kids, and that it really changed his life. And so now I'm going to read this other part of this one. This is from Sandy Capps. All right. Oh, legs turner. Okay, hang on. Let me get myself situated here. So it goes, I, William J. Tisdale, being first duly sworn and disposed as the following. I am an investigator in the Federal Public Defender's Office, and I have assigned to work on the Elizabeth Diane Downs matter. On January the 26th, 1997, I had a conversation with Miss Sandy Capps about an acquaintance of her, James Claire Haynes. During that conversation, Mrs. Capps told me that she remembered having a conversation with Mr. Haynes, where he confessed that he was the person who committed the Downs crimes. Mrs. Capps eventually agreed to provide me with a detailed affidavit describing what Mr. Haynes had told her. Based upon my initial conversation with Mrs. Capps and several subsequent ones, I prepared a draft of an affidavit for Ms. Capps to review. A copy of that draft is attached to this document as Exhibit 1 and is the document that I prepared based on Mrs. Capps' statements. The draft document was mailed to Mrs. Capps on March 19th of 1998. I had further telephone conversations with Ms. Capps on April the 2nd, 1988, and she suggested that 2 minor changes to that draft document. I then sent the affidavits to the Federal Public Defender investigator, Tony Passini, for her to set up an appointment with Ms. Capps to get the document notarized. Mrs. Passini told me that she did set up the appointment with Ms. Capps and met with her on April the 30th, 1998. After that meeting, Ms. Passini contacted me and told me that Mrs. Capps had refused to sign the affidavit because she was afraid of Mr. Haynes and because she was concerned about danger for her children. All right, now let's keep on going here. There's a lot of interesting information that I don't ever remember seeing. I even read this book. I read Ann Rule's. Why do I keep dropping that? Hang on, guys, just a moment. I read the book Small Sacrifices. I remember that book. It was really good, but there's parts of this stuff I don't remember seeing, right? So we're going to keep going on down here. And I'm upstairs back here in the furthest away from the downstairs because I didn't want my husband to get woke up from me talking. But okay, so then on August the 28th of 1993, the first person to share with me about James Haynes' confession of guilt was Fran Werda. Listen to what Fran had to say. Fran Werda, here we go. I know it's hard to hear. I'm sorry. Ooh, her son-in-law. Okay, this is 22 minutes. Terrible. Mm. Wow. That's just terrible. Just terrible. Mm. You can't have Benji. That's dangerous. Hmm. Very bad. Wow. Oh, wow. Interesting. All right. Okay, so that is his own mother-in-law telling you that he told her that he's actually the person that took the kids in anyway. And this was all some kind of a revenge shooting. Okay, so now we're going to go down. And I mean, the list goes on and on. There's so many of them. And then now listen to this one. If you're going to shoot someone, it's very important to hold a gun. Sounds silly, doesn't it? The night of the shooting, they did a trace metal test to see if Diane had held the gun, but she did. Okay, now let me go back down to the next one. Let's see. Douglas Welch, he insisted that all the records had been destroyed when they weren't. The sheriff's office said they were following leads during the trial when they weren't. In court, they told the attorney for the defense that there were no more leads. Roy Pond testified there were only 30 to 35 leads. Judge Gregory Foote said he had a problem with the detective's testimony. In 1998, the federal public defenders requested all the records that were held regarding this investigation and any possible leads that might still be available. They were told by Detective Doug Welch that the records had been destroyed. The federal public defenders pursued this issue even further and found, according to William Teasdale of the Federal Public Defender's Office, on March 4th, 1998, Mrs. Willis and I returned to the Lane County Sheriff's Office and spent a full day copying all the materials from 3 boxes, amounting to 4,700 pages in documents. And this is in an affidavit. Okay. When Diane filed her appeal, Judge Malcolm Marsh made many decisions that could have easily have been decided in Diane's favor. Listen to this. The miscarriage of justice exception to procedural default is limited to habeas petitions who can show that a constitutional violation has probably resulted in the conviction of one who is actually innocent. Schultz versus Dalo. And then, the citing. So I'm not going to read all those. To demonstrate actual innocence, petitions must show that it's more likely than not that a reasonable jury would have convicted her of the offense, was found guilty, and had they been appraised at the new evidence. What new evidence? Okay. Well, the evidence is going to be these testimonials coming out through these statements, these sworn statements. Okay. That's the new evidence. Okay. Hey there, Deadeye. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for coming by. I'm just doing my part 3 of Diane Downs. There's so much about her that is not really you don't see it everywhere. I mean, we all may have read the book. This is so many long ago, but she's up for appeal. She's had an appeal, and in 30 days, I don't think she's going to get out. But they are talking about this new evidence they're going to test in some DNA. Now, do I think it's going to amount to anything? No. But they still have to test it, right? So we're just reading along about in her appeal and what the judge had to say about it. So the petitioner argues that she is actually innocent of any of the dangerous offenders' determinations, as evidenced by the above referenced attachments for her original petition. However, neither the Ninth Circuit nor this court has expanded the actual innocence exception to permit a petitioner to attack a non-capital sentence. See, and it talks about where they're referencing this. Jenkins versus whatever. Okay, so in the event the petitioner's evidence does not rise to the level necessary under Schultz, accordingly, her procedural default is not excused. Okay, so now the next thing that happens over here is now you must wonder what a reasonable juror would have wondered if the reason the sheriff's office withheld 4,700 pages of documents and then lied, saying there were only 30 to 35 leads. The same reasonable juror might also wonder about the constitutional violation that was overlooked by the courts to gain a conviction. I know it must just be her father talking, or is it? And then there's something by, thank you, I'm glad you're catching up. Thank you so much. Then there's something called Dr. Deborah Fish's comments about Judge Malcolm Marsh's decision. Okay, and then this is another document. But let me tell you something really quick. Now, aside from all of that, I did a comparison of, things in the way, of Lori Vallow and Diane Downs, and psychologically. All right. So let's go over that really quick because there's a lot of reading on this other thing, and I just want to talk about this for a second. Okay, so diagnosed or suspected disorders. Okay, hang on. Possible, okay, this is Lori. Possible psychosis or shared delusional disorder. Vallow believed her children were zombies and that killing them would save their souls. These beliefs were reinforced by her partner, Chad Daybell, suggesting a shared psychotic disorder. Antisocial traits and sociopathy. Experts have noted her emotional detachment, manipulative behavior, and lack of empathy, which align with the traits of an antisocial personality disorder. Incompetency to stand trial. This is, again, we're talking about Lori Vallow here. She was found incompetent to stand trial at one point, indicating significant mental health issues, though she was later deemed competent. Now, I want to say this. I'm not a doctor. I'm not anything. But based on everything we've seen and heard, I don't think that she was ever competent to stand trial. Because if you ask her today, she's going to tell you the same thing she's told them the whole time. That she is an exalted being. It makes no sense at all. That she's an exalted being. And that, she speaks to them, they're in heaven. She speaks to them, blah, blah. Now, let's talk about Diane Downs. What's her psychological? Histrionic personality disorder. Downs exhibits traits such as an excessive need for attention, dramatic behavior, and manipulative tendencies. Her flirtatious and desire to be loved were central to her psychological profile. And you see that over and over and over because when she's at her parole hearings, she's showing that same behavior. Psychopathy, all right? Experts, including Robert Hare, have labeled her a cold-blooded psychopath, citing her callousness and lack of empathy. No acknowledgement of guilt. Now, this is both of them. Both of them have this. Downs has never admitted to her crimes and continues to deny responsibility, which is consistent with narcissistic and psychopathic traits. Okay, this is motivations and behavior patterns. Lori Vallow, delusional beliefs, okay. Her actions were reportedly motivated by apocalyptic religious beliefs and desire to rid the world of dark spirits. Manipulation and control. She maintains the facade of normalcy while her children were missing, showing calculated behavior. Emotional detachment. This is a big one. Her reactions in court and to her son's testimony were described as encouraging and lacking of empathy. Diane Downs. The same question here. Motivations and behavior patterns. Desire for romantic freedom. Her motive was allegedly to remove her children as obstacles to a romantic relationship with a man who did not want kids. Attention seeking. Her behavior during the trial and the media appearances were described as theatrical and self-centered. Persistent deception. She fabricated a story about a carjacking to cover up the crimes, showing a high level of deceit. All right. Now, here's another funny thing about this. Criminal psychology comparisons. All right, here we go. Primary diagnosis, Lori Vallow. Possible psychosis, ASPD. Diane Downs, her diagnosis is HPD, narcissistic and antisocial PD. All right, motivation, Lori Vallow. Religious delusions and control. Motivation for Diane Downs, romantic obsession and attention. Empathy, Lori Vallow, severely lacking. Diane Downs, severely lacking. All right. Admission of guilt, no and no. Then here's the other one, manipulative behavior, yes and yes. Mental competency, for Lori, it was yes, initially incompetent. And for Diane Downs is no. She was never competent, right? Psychopathic indicators, suspected and strongly indicated. So Diane Downs is strongly indicated that she is a psychopath. And I always thought she was. In conclusion, while both Lori Vallow and Diane Downs committed horrific crimes against their children, their psychological underpinnings differ just significantly. Vallow's actions appear to be rooted in delusional beliefs and shared psychosis, possibly exacerbated by her relationship with Chad Daybell. Downs' behavior is more aligned with the classic psychopathy and histrionic traits driven by narcissism and the need for attention and control. How about that? So when you compare them, a lot of things are exactly the same, but their actual diagnoses are just a little bit different. All right. Now, we'll keep reading this over here because there's all kinds of information here that I didn't have before. So when we read Miss Fisher's let's read her comments about this. Oops, let's open this one. Open. Judge Marsh. Come on, open up. It's running slow. Oh, I don't want to do that. Just save it as a PDF, please. Okay. And this is going to be from January the 9th. I'm sorry. This is January, February. Okay, hang on. February the 19th, 2008. And this is from the judge. Or it's from to the judge. Dear sir, it has been brought to my attention that in 2007, you denied Elizabeth Diane Downs' request for parole based on what you called a diagnosis of deviant sociopath and other reasons. This is really small. It's hard to read. My name is Wesley Fredrickson. I am Diane Downs' father. Ooh, here we go. Let me make this bigger here so we can see it. He writes the letter to the judge. How about that? Her own father. Okay. And he says, my name is Wesley Fredrickson. I am Diane Downs' father, and I respect you are. Whoops, here, let me make this a little wider. It's kind of hard to see. Come on. Here we go. Get this over here. Ooh. Here we go. It's going to make it bigger. All right. I'm trying to get this thing to just open up as a PDF. Let's see if we can do it that way. Save. No, I don't want to save the link. I want to open this. It's in an RTF, so I've got to switch it over. Save as. I'm going to save it as a PDF. Save. All right. Now, when I can open the file, let's see if I can get it to. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. So then it goes that you denied her appeal and you denied her parole. Hang on, go over here. It's a 4-page letter, so it's going to be, I got to make it bigger. Sorry, I just got to make it bigger. All right, now I'm going to have to, there. I think that'll work. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing it this way, and we're going to share it this other way. Hang on just a second. All right, I'm going to close it from over here. Let's do this. And come over here, StreamYard, and I'm going to share my screen and show this other thing instead. Okay, here we go. Share the screen. Okay, get this other thing to pull back up. Open letter from the parole board. Oh, this is even better. Look at this one. Okay, this right here is a letter from the parole board that was very interesting. So let me get this over here. Oh, there's so much stuff on her. It's just not even funny. So let me get this one over here. And I've got to do this in order for this to work. All right, let me split the screen real quick. Okay. Okay, now there's that. Now, this is the letter from the parole board. This was on, this is her letter to the parole board, right? And she had to pay $402 for this, and she made it all fancy. She did all this by hand. Date August 11, 2023. Full disclosure of dirt swept under the rug. That's how she titled this. In 2020, the Oregon Board of Paroles employed a psychologist to evaluate me as per the upcoming parole considerations hearing, as required by the state law. For the parole consideration hearing, the board shall cause to be brought before it and consider the written report of the examining psychiatrist, which shall be made within 2 months of the date of its consideration. The board complied with that law because it was mandatory. That same statute also required that the Board of Paroles to discharge me from custody if certain findings were made by the doctor under the statute. Here's the deal. No, they're not required to discharge you. They can give you a parole, but they're not required to just say, oh, well, you're not even on parole. You're just done. We're just going to let you go. That's it. All right. Now she's got that wrong. At the parole consideration hearing, the prisoner shall be given a release date. Okay, that could be a parole date, not a release date. Okay, and it's just a condition of the prisoner's, of the release of her parole. Anyway, now one of the things it says over here is, if the condition in which is made the prisoner's dangerous is absent, like if they're not dangerous, you can give them parole. But you're never just going to be let go, right? The dangerous condition cited by the board was severe narcissistic personality disorder. I agree with that. My matrix ran from 1998 to 2004. Should the site find I was not suffering from a severe narcissistic personality disorder, the board would be mandated by Oregon law to release me within the matrix, which expires in May of 2004. Really? In other words, the board would be required to discharge me from custody. That has been the law in Oregon since 1971. That's still the law in Oregon today. In August of 2020, a month before my 2020 parole consideration, Dr. Michelle R. Guyton tendered her findings after evaluating me for 8 hours. In her overlay, there was, and she goes, in the overlay thorough, it's like page 44, it says, Dr. Guyton was very clear that I suffered from no major mental disorders, no violent attitudes, no aggression or anything approaching violence in the past 37 years. By law, the board was required to discharge me from custody. The board refused to comply with the law. The 2020 board knew I wasn't suffering from a severe narcissistic personality disorder. They know Oregon law required them to discharge me from custody. So why didn't they comply with the mandatory language of the law? For that matter, why didn't the 1999 board abide by the law? And the 2004 board and the 2008 board? Why didn't the 2010 board discharge me from custody? Okay, when my minimum custody date expired, or 2014 when my maximum custody date expired. That's not true. She was giving 50 years. Okay, 50 years. The closest I ever got to a real answer to that question was in 2008 when the board member Steve Powers said, I know you think the law requires us to parole you and there's nothing we can do about it, but I think I can. The overemphasis of the words I can left quite an impression on me. As you can see, that was 15 years ago, and I'm still mulling those words. That's right, she doesn't let things go. It's part of her personality disorder. So much that I decided to put every parole board member on the witness stand to ask them why they denied my parole. The only way I could do that was to file a civil lawsuit in federal court for damages occurred over the past 24 years since the first time they illegally denied me parole in 1999. I filed it under 42 USC law, and it gives those lists. District of Columbia versus Carter, and she starts talking about these other cases. She cited other cases. The state law might not be enforced, and claims of citizens and immunities guaranteed by the 14th Amendment might be denied by state agencies. And there's just a bunch of different statutes that she's going on about, right? Okay. Had this lawsuit run its proper course, every Oregon parole board member would have been subpoenaed to testify concerning their time on the board, considering my bid for parole. It probably goes without saying, Oregon was not going for that. I filed my petition in the Northern District of Oregon. In Portland, I'm out of state. Okay, so she's out of state. They transferred her, I think, to California. But she tried to escape 4 different times. They had to get her into maximum security. I am out of state. The Oregon Attorney General is in Salem, and the Mark O. Hatfield U.S. Courthouse isn't right across the street from the Lane County Courthouse in Eugene. My choice of district seemed logical for everyone except Lane County. My case was assigned to Magistrate Judge Julie Yim in Portland. Okay. Downs versus Oregon Board of Parole, members et al. Case number, it gives the case number. This was on 4/26 of 2003 at 11:09 a.m. That same day, the Eugene Magistrate Judge Mustafa something Kasabui, I'm not saying that right, it's Kasubhai, took my case from Judge Yu and retitled it for himself. Downs versus Oregon Parole, blind, gives us other case number. Roughly 2 months later, with no service upon any of the defendants in this case, the judge handed this case to Lane County Circuit Court and Judge Ann Aiken to dismiss. Oops, sorry, United States District Court Judge Ann Aiken. She moved from her office from 125 East 8th Avenue to 405 East 8th Avenue in 1998. I don't know why she's saying about all this. It makes no damn sense. I suppose if I could have said I'm reading too much into the fact that formal Lane County Circuit Court judge was given my civil suit to dispatch. So let's take a look at what she has to say. Oh my God. This is crazy as she is, right? I was going to place this after the petition itself, but you and my readers need to know how it ends in order to make a better sense of my claims. So let's look at the assignment of my case to Portland District Court and its immediate reassignment of my case to the Eugene District Court. Wow, this lady's she's a mess. I'm sorry, I said it better. Oh, this is 68 pages. I don't think I'll be able to read all this tonight. I'm going to have a part 4, I guess. But so here's the notice of electronic filing, and there's the different judges. Here's the dates. Here's the case reassignment and the reason why. So she goes, its following transaction was entered on 7. Warning case closed on 7. Order of dismissal. No amendment would cure the deficiency of the plaintiff's claims, and this action is dismissed with prejudice, signed on 7/7 by Judge Ann Aiken. Okay. Judge Aiken, there's that. And let's see. Okay, here's another one. Here's all these parole boards that she's trying to get them subpoenaed. Okay, so the plaintiff is an adult in custody. She's going on about that. Order of dismissal. The court must dismiss this action initiated by a prisoner seeking redress from a government entity or officer or employee if the court determines that the action is frivolous or malicious, fails to state the claim on which the relief may be granted, seeks monetary relief against the defendant who is immune from such relief, and dismissal of a pro se complaint for failure to state the claim is proper only if it's clear that the plaintiff cannot prove the set of facts in support of the claim that would entitle him to relief. The court must construe the pro se pleadings liberally and afford the plaintiff the benefit of doubt. And there's the citings. Unless it is absolutely clear, no amendment can cure defects in the complaint. A pro se litigant is entitled to notice of the complaints. Of the complaint's deficiencies and an opportunity to amend prior dismissal to the actions. And it talks about that one. In 1984, the plaintiff was convicted of murder, attempted murder, and assault in Lane County Circuit Court. The jury found that the plaintiff fatally shot one of her children and seriously wounded the other 2. The trial court sentenced the plaintiff in a dangerous offender and imposed consecutive sentence. She has consecutive life sentences, right? So, I mean, she's full of shit if she thinks that, there's some kind of mandatory release date, because there wasn't. So, okay, so that's what it was. So, as a dangerous offender, and imposed consecutive sentence of life imprisonment plus 30 years imprisonment with a 15-year minimum for one count of attempted murder and 20 years imprisonment with a 10-year minimum on the other count of attempted murder in these cases. Plaintiff was convicted of escape in first degree and sentenced to a consecutive term of 5 years of imprisonment. Okay, so but she's tried to escape 4 different times, but they only really charged her with the one where she's actually gone for 10 days, okay? In this action, the plaintiff alleges that the defendants have cooperated to illegally imprison her since 1999 in violation of the Oregon statutes. Plaintiff alleges that the defendants, former and current members of the Oregon Board of Parole and post-prison supervisors, have deprived her of due process by refusing to conduct parole hearings and denying her release of parole. She seeks damages of $100 for each day she's been unlawfully. I'm sorry, it's not funny, but it is funny. She's seeking $100 a day for each day she was unlawfully confined due to each defendant's conduct. Plaintiff's claims rest on the argument that she is being unlawfully confined because of board members' actions or inactions, and her claim necessarily implicates the legality of her continued confinement. If the court concludes that the challenges would necessarily imply the invalidity of the judgment of continuing confinement, then the challenge must be brought as a petition for writ of habeas corpus, not under, and then this case here. So, let me go back down. I want to read all the little case things. Let's see. Okay. So, a state prisoner action is barred if success in that action will necessarily demonstrate the invalidity of confinement and its duration. Okay. Let's see. Plaintiff emphasizes that she seeks only money damage and does not request her release from confinement. See what's wrong with that picture? She only wants the money, but she's not asking to be released. released or, released from confinement. How does that work? It doesn't. The requested relief is immaterial. The question is whether success of her claims would implicate the validity of her current confinement. Plaintiff's claims sound in habeas corpus and habeas and cannot be raised in civil rights actions. Further, I decline to construe this action as one of the federal habeas reliefs brought under in the section. As plaintiff has been pending petition challenging the board's 2020 parole decision in the C. Down versus the parole board. Even if the plaintiff's claims arising from the board members' decisions were not barred under, and then, the statute, parole board members are entitled to absolute immunity when they perform quasi-judicial functions. Okay, so there was nothing she could not really sue them. I have to get comfortable. My legs kind of hurt me. Okay, so she couldn't really sue them. They're not liable. I mean, it's just, you just can't do it. Order of dismissal. Quasi-judicial immunity applies to decisions to grant, deny, or revoke parole because these tasks are functionally comparable to tasks performed by a judge. Okay. Here, the plaintiff challenges quasi-judicial decisions relating to parole hearings and release decisions, and defendants are immune from the suit, and that's it. The conclusion. Okay. So here's a copy of her, basically what she filed, right? Let's see. And then there's the civil rights, and then here's the different actions. Okay, so the civil rights, let's see, case number, here's your civil rights complaint. Let's see, going on and on. Let's see, Richardson, let's get state there. Exhaustion of appellant remedies. Plaintiff has exhausted all her appellant remedies and found no relief in state court since 1999. In 2000, she had a petition for writ of habeas corpus. In 2001, petition of habeas mandus. 2001, petition for writ of habeas corpus. 2002, petition for writ of habeas corpus. And 2008 through 2020, defendant's refusal to respond to plaintiff's appeals. Downs versus Board of Parole. Plaintiffs can do no more to seek relief in the state courts where loyalty to fraternal orders or supersedes allegiance to the law. All defendants listed are or were Oregon Parole Board members who cooperated for decades to inflict cruel and unusual harm on plaintiffs in violation of the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Now, this is her saying these things, right? Former board member Michael Washington is now employed as the Assistant Attorney General, where he is neatly situated to influence the state's disposition of plaintiffs' appeals after sitting on the Oregon Board of Parole for 8 years. Let's see. Then it's talking about page 3, civil rights complaints. Or will a further follow-up reveal Michael Washington was originally a state's attorney employed by the Oregon Attorney General, who was then delegated to sit on the plaintiff's parole board applications from 1988 when she became eligible for parole in 2007. See, here's the thing about her. Everything, whoops, let me get back up here. Drop my little thing here. Come on. Here. Okay. Here's the thing about Diane Downs. Everything is a conspiracy. If you go back and you listen to, I think it's in part 2 of this, she starts talking about that. It goes all the way back to when her children were shot or whatever. Everything that ever happened in her life was a conspiracy. Somebody's after her. She's not responsible for any of it. Typical sociopath behavior and bullshit, right? So now she's going back to the conspiracy theory here. That's why she's talking about this. How long have I been on here? God, I'm going to have to get off soon because I've got a doctor's appointment. I've got to go. We're going to have to do a part 4. So sorry, I got to do a part 4. I just can't squeeze it all in, and I can't stay up. I'm not going to do a 4, 5, or 6 hour. In 1984, the plaintiff was sentenced under, and it talks about that, in order to lawfully sentence plaintiff as a dangerous offender. Oregon statute required a psychiatrist to find she was suffering from severe personality disorders. Well, I just proved they did already find her suffering from some severe. Let me tell you what it was. Her severe disorder is, it's going back down here. She can't deny it. Okay, that she has histrionic personality disorder, narcissistic and antisocial personality disorders. So she is severe. Right there is severe. The state employed Dr. George Suckoff, I'm sure I didn't say that right, but to interview the plaintiff for 40 minutes, after which he diagnosed plaintiff with narcissistic personality disorder. I agree with him. not a severe narcissistic personality disorder required by law because there was no classification of narcissistic personality disorder being severe in the DSM-3 in 1984. The doctor admitted he manufactured a false diagnosis because he felt there should be one. The court should have immediately dismissed the state's request to have the plaintiff sentenced as a dangerous offender when the state's expert admitted that he manufactured a false diagnosis to satisfy the statutory requirements, but the court did not. Now, I don't believe that. But I would need other parts of this to go back and look and see what his diagnosis was. But we will probably never be able to see that, okay? The doctor justified his findings by claiming plaintiffs exhibited narcissistic tendencies in her childhood. When asked to explain, the following exchange took place between the state's witness, Dr. George, and the defense counsel, James Jagger. In the DSM-3, there isn't some classification of narcissistic personality disorders or being severe or not severe. No. This is the question and answer. So this is pretty much left up to the individual or the practitioners. And the answer, I think it is yes. When you look at the personality disorders, they're lifelong patterns of behavior. The question, what evidence do you have that prior to age 15 of Diane Downs that she had a narcissistic personality disorder? Well, when she was 13, she gave a history of being sexually molested. Question, that has nothing to do with narcissistics, does it? Yes, it does. What? Narcissistic people often are seductive in order to gain attention. Okay. I'm going to talk about Lori Vallow, right? Go back and look at part of her. Let's go back and look at, there's several of these women. Letitia Stouch, go back and look at her. Same kind of claims, right? They're all the same. Narcissistic people often are seductive. Excuse me, was your observation that she had been seductive to the person who molested her or had almost invited this? Was it her fault? Now, we all know that it's never the child's fault. We know that. Excuse me, was your observation that she had been, okay, so what I'm saying is narcissistic people are often seductive in behavior in order to gain attention. But being molested has nothing to do with narcissistic personality, does it? In and of itself, no. But what I'm saying is the propensity to be molested is there. Okay, now listen. I'm going to say this. No, I disagree with him here. There is never propensity to be molested. It is never the child's fault, and I think this is complete bullshit. And somebody does need to say something about this. I'm going to remember this, and we're going to talk about this one further. But being molested has nothing. Okay. He goes, only if you're seductive. Yes, and most narcissistic people are. I trained in psychiatry in Oregon State Hospital in Salem, finishing that training in 1964. In 1966, I then came to the Oregon State. This is the guy giving his credentials, right? And I went to and he's talking about this hospital. Now, he admitted from his 1984 testimony, the fact that he returned to the Oregon State Hospital in 1980 because State Hospital was shut down. Under his directorship, too many patients were dying from his experimental drugs and procedures he approved. As director, Doctor kept all state-owned mental hospitals overcrowded at tax. Okay, this is her giving her. She's deciding this, okay? There's no proof of this. She's just saying this. The state of Oregon received kickbacks from drug companies for the use of their patients of which their experimental drugs were forced. Now, here we go. Listen to what she's saying. This, once again, is conspiracy. Everything's a conspiracy. Everything's, it's psychopathic. She's crazy, right? This was just one arm of the corruption in the Oregon judicial system that got Oregon Director of Corrections Michael Frank killed in 1988 after the Oregon governors brought him in from New Mexico to clean it up. This is the same corrupt system that wrongfully convicted Frank Gable for the director Frank's murder for to protect one of their own. Okay, you hear all this conspiracy crap? Okay, now I've been on here an hour and 38 minutes. I'm going to have to call it a day. We're going to have to go to do a part 4. I'm going to remember where we left off. I'm going to take a picture of it so we can come back to this. Then I'll have to finish this up. I'll be back on it tomorrow, I guess, or sometime later today. But anyway, but just think back about part 2. Everything is a conspiracy against her or somebody else. She is loco. They consider her still to be dangerous to the public. She does not need to be out. She doesn't need to be paroled. She is 70 years old, right? She's a 70-year-old menace to society because she might not ever take somebody's life again, but she will also always be caught up in some conspiracy if they're going against her, the whole gamut of crazy. Okay, so we'll go back, we'll start back on this and do a part 4 because I got to call it a day. Anyway, just come on back when you can, come catch up when you can. Like I always say, just hit that thumbs up on your way in or your way out. I sure do appreciate it. See you guys later. I'll probably try to come back live around 2:00 this afternoon so I can get back on this and get back to reading this. I also want to go find some other paperwork because to see what she's talking about when she's talking about somebody was taken out as being, I need to verify some of this information that she has put in this lawsuit. Anyway, she sounds just like Letitia Stouch, to be honest with you. That's who she sounds like. See you later, guys. Have a good evening or a good night or good morning, whatever you want to call it. Night.